military support for her leadership?
I think there's an overestimation on both sides. Mrs. Arroyo thinks that the threat is so much, so she declares a state of emergency, which now ends up to be an overreaction. Now, on the part of the military, they think they have the people's support, which they could only gather 3,000 or 4,000. I think they're both unrealistic. Both sides are overestimating both the military in terms of perceived support and Arroyo in terms of perceived threat. But I think the reality is far from any of these two perceptions. So given that, I think Arroyo will continue to have this type of turmoil for the rest of her term because, her integrity is in tatters. Her presidency is seen to be very impotent, lacking in any leadership. So she cannot provide the vision that people are looking for. So that somehow fuels all these little, rebellions here and there, military or other people like opposition groups.
Ruben, how long do you see this state of emergency lasting in the Philippines?
I think, given how it's unfolding, it should be over in another day or two, because this gives her the impression that she is like another Marcos in the making. So it's making things worse. So she cannot ban people protesting. After all, she now sees that there are not so much people protesting. So it's really futile. And then clamoring to ask to let the opposition people stop from talking. She cannot stop that as well. But at the same time, it's not that strong. For her to be brought down from power, you need a few forces converging into one. So that will be like all the elites in unison asking her to step down. And then you have hundreds of thousands of people, not tens of thousands as happening now. And then you have the church, which up to now has backed off from being pushed into a centerpiece of this saga. And then when all that happens, then the military takes its side, and they side with the people. But then that has not happened.
Ruben, if I may jump in here, how significant is it that she has lost the support of Fidel Ramos? He's a former president. He's traditionally declaring a state of emergency.
Well, she has taken the step of declaring a state of emergency, which Ramos feels very, very bad about, because this somehow is the thing that Ramos protested against Marcos. So he doesn't want this to be seen again. There's really no current state of affairs that demanded this kind of action from Arroyo, and this is what Ramos feels strongly about. Nevertheless, he hasn't gone overboard and saying that I'm withdrawing my support. When that happens, I think we'll be in for more trouble.
Is she clamping down on the media as well, Arroyo? We know that the Daily Tribune, which is known for being an anti-government newspaper over in the Philippines, they had their offices raided. Is this the beginning of something bigger?
No, I think Tribune is not really such an important paper, but of course it is read and it's known to be anti-government. But this is what I mean, that when Arroyo tries to silence the press, it just will backfire. In a rambunctious democracy like the Philippines, in which everyone can have its say, never mind, let people have their say. It doesn't mean that you're under threat. There are others who will probably believe that, okay, they are not 70% happy. They're just probably 50%, 55% happy. Nevertheless, there's no alternative. There's no real figure that can replace Arroyo at this point in time. So I think it's like a suppressed level of happiness which people are willing to go by instead of having another violent kind of state of affairs and a change of precedent.
Ruben, it's Fauzia again. Now, we saw the markets go down on Friday, but with the state of emergency that's been declared, how much has that boosted investor confidence, or how much will it boost investor confidence? Will it give the image that Arroyo is on top of things?
Well, I think what happened last Friday is a sort of a jittery reaction. So the fundamentals are still there. The peso, the currency, is holding up. There was a slight decline. The stock market is also slight decline, but again holding up. Fitch and Standard & Poor's just raised the rating for the Philippines. The remittances is 11% of GDP. Unemployment is high, but it's not higher. As I said, okay, things are not that bad. Her cabinet is functioning. Public services are also functioning. So things are not that bad. But what I can say is that some segments of the population are unhappy about her lack of integrity. She missed the opportunity of submitting herself to an impeachment proceedings, which should have been easily won by her and would have cleared her name, but she did not do that. She has a special talent of missing opportunities. I'll put it that way. She has been given many opportunities. She came to office with a golden political capital, and she wantonly wasted it.
Ruben, thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for your insight on that story. That was Ruben Mondejar from City University of Hong Kong joining us live from our studios over there. Well, we're going to go for a very quick break here in Market Watch, but when we come back, the state of emergency imposed in the Philippines threatens to dent newfound confidence in the country's economy. We are going to talk to a specialist from Fitch Ratings right after this.